Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, welcome everybody. That is my theme song. I forgot that I had on, but isn't it awesome? That was from Brent Holland, and he wrote that, and he wrote that for Through the Darkness, and here we are on Through the Darkness. Today is July 1st, 2020, and it is very hot. So if you are in Hamden, Connecticut, or Rhode Island, or anywhere where it is very hot, please make sure that you stay cool. I was just out walking my dog, and it's like walking through fog. The call has dropped with James and Carl, so if you guys could just call back, that would be great. I am your host, one of your hosts, Christine Corda, psychic something or other from Hamden, Connecticut, psychic medium. And with me is Reverend Ed Broderick, very gifted man. And let me say that we are so blessed to have Reverend Ed to join this show. This has been sort of like a dream of mine for many years. I've been doing it for 10 years, and it's sort of like a self-imposed torture. But I am very, very blessed to have you, Reverend Ed. And I just, you're giving people hope. And I think that that's a lot of what's missing in life, that people don't have hope, And when I listen to you do the readings, do the discernment that we take the calls for, it's such a blessing to me, because you know how it can get when you're in this kind of work and you have people who are just so demanding. And I want to let you guys know, please, and this is me saying this, okay? If you want to make a donation, yes, of course. And I have PayPal, and I don't know, Reverend Ed, if you have PayPal, but I will say that will help his work, and I would appreciate it if you would donate to Reverend Ed. He did not put me up to it, I promise. I see the work that these gentlemen are doing, and it is very, very needed. So if you want, you can email me, christinecorda@yahoo.com, to let me know how you can help, because these are gifts from God, and God is saying, let's all support each other. I'm going to welcome you, Reverend Ed, and thank you for being the co-host, and then we're going to welcome our guest. Well, I think that they connected. I think I let them in. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guests.
Okay. Well, first of all, wow, Chris, thank you for that wonderful introduction. I love you very much, and we've known each other for quite some time, and so those are such kind words, and I appreciate that. Because,
you are my friend, and yeah.
Yeah.
My friends are my friends, and if you ever need help, I will be there for you. And it's just a new phase in my life. I'm pushing 60, guys. Can you imagine?
Wow.
60 years old, and I'm gonna go out fighting just the same way I came in, right?
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. So I want to introduce our guests, Carl Johnson and James Annitto. These are two of the finest. Yes, yeah, two of the finest gentlemen you can get to know in the paranormal world.
I agree.
Carl and I, Carl, we go back a while. We were sitting one time having dinner over someplace after a case, and we were recounting the different cases that I had consulted on with Carl, and it just blew me away, because I was like, oh my gosh, there have been actual severe but many cases. So I have known Carl for a very long time. Carl Johnson has done consulting work himself in the area of demonology and assisting in, I think, a couple of actual possessions. And he actually helped in a possession case that I was involved with in Providence. That was a crazy case. Anyway, so Carl Johnson has been a part of Ghost Hunters and amazing stuff. And James Annitto is part of the, now, if I get this right, the old Catholic Church. And
correct.
James is like the hot pepper that you eat, and you're like, oh wow, this is kind of cool, and then he hits you after. This man is a rising star in the paranormal world. He is all over the place, and actually, he's going to be going on. Yeah, I want to talk about that. You just took over a. You were going to do an investigation, and I got the notes right here. Why don't you talk about that for a second, James? What's this new case that you're about to do?
What, the one that was announced today?
Yes. I want to get it right out there so the world can hear it.
Yeah, so my friend Keith Bailey, who is a co-host of Paranormal Rewind with Sam Baltrusis, who is a fantastic author on the area of Salem, Massachusetts, and just had a few great hits within that area on his book. They were doing an event at USS Salem, but because Keith is from Houston, Texas, and due to COVID, the COVID scare going down there right now, and the major deaths and toll it's having down in the South right now, it's not going to be able to come up. So Sam asked me to take Keith's spot, and it's called Paranormal Showdown 2020. It is at USS Salem. The Greater Boston Paranormal Association, who runs the ship, will be a part of it as well. And basically, it is a friendly competition on whose team can possibly capture what mysteries lie within the USS Salem. So it'll be a cool event, and of course, it helps raise money for the USS Salem, which is a museum, and of course, they can require all the help they need because it almost got shut down a few years ago. Unfortunately, that piece of history is still able to be around.
Amazing. And of course, you're going to be competing against the great Sam Baltrusis. So, and that man, he has a history of all kinds of paranormal work. So that's just amazing stuff. This is what I'm talking about. It just seems like whatever he puts his hand to turns to gold. So, you, James, are talking about. And also, he's a fantastic.
That, but...
Well, it seems like it, especially when it comes to your paranormal work. Amazing, you're out there, and for years I'd go to these the Ocean State Paracon, and I would wear my collar, and people would think I was crazy, and it was so nice that the last time I was at the Paracon, he was wearing his collar because he's a deacon, and so that was so great. So congratulations on that, because I know that was hard work. So, and you're it's just all over the place, my friend. Now, you just came back from Pennsylvania, and how did that go?
So I was able to, for a birthday present from Sam Baltrusis and Keith Bailey and Keith's husband, John, they basically gave me a free weekend away, and there was an investigation with Daryl Marston and Mustafa and the new Ghost Hunters, with Ray Savino and very... sorry if this is wrong if he's listening, Flumeri Promotions, I think is how it's said. And basically I was brought out there for my birthday weekend, which was June 7th. And
Happy birthday.
I was able to hang out. Thank you. I was able to hang out with a bunch of great friends and meet new people, and was able to bring my son Caleb, which is awesome. He loved it. He's been wanting to go to the museum, so I was able to take him to the fort that saved America, which is pretty big. A lot of people don't know what Fort Mifflin is, but it's really a big part of piece of history with George Washington and crossing the Delaware. So, so I was able to take my son, but we were also able to check out Fort Mifflin, the history, and of course, possibly what goes on tonight. And that was a fun time. It's always fun to get with a bunch of people that you call friends and have laughs, and of course, also discuss the paranormal and the cases we're working on, and camaraderie. And I can't even say that word today.
Camaraderie.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Walking Encyclopedia. But
I know, right?
There was a lot of synergy involved that night, and it was great.
That makes
very little listening, but a lot of synergy.
That's funny. It really does have to do with having good synergy with the people that you were working with. Because now that was at Fort Mifflin, correct?
Yeah, correct, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Because and the photos and evidence that you collected, I mean, it's in my journey through the paranormal world, I haven't heard too much about Fort Mifflin, except for it seems to be related to you. And lately, cases that I have done, have been either a case that you or had met someone, but it seems like everywhere it turned around, I hear about James Annitto. So, and I have known you for a couple of years myself, but before that, it was like, oh my gosh, who is this guy? So I'm just so glad and so pleased that you took your time out of your busy schedule and being the dad and everything to hang out with us and we're going to have questions because I got some questions for you, especially your role as far as what your thoughts are on Ouija boards and, of course, possession. But I want to just, if you don't mind, I want to get to Carl for a second. Carl, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing okay. I'm pretty good. I'm here. What can I say? I have a voice. I can speak.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can speak. All right. Yeah, the talking encyclopedia, that was perfect. That's hilarious. So now, this guy knows. If you want to know anything about pretty much anything, but especially in the area of the paranormal, Carl Johnson is the guy to go to. So I understand that you just recently finished a book, or you were still working on that one, or did you finish that one?
Well, I have completed one, yes, but of course there's always a work in progress. I'm writing articles in preparation for a new book. It's actually a very new project. Therefore, I can't really disclose much about it. I'm under contract. I can't really tell you. It's
all right.
I'm exaggerating.
Right.
I am working on a new book, but it's ideas coming together, and I'm pulling out what essays I have in preparation for that. But yeah, there'll be another one, sure.
Oh.
In fact, I do have copies of my published book, Shadow Realms, Demonology Handbook. If you like, I can just read you from it. I'll read you a chapter or two, and that'll be my interview here. To make it easy on you.
Oh, see, I told you I wasn't going to make it easy on you, sir. Sorry. Okay, so now...
Oh, no, you ask questions, and I don't know if I have the answer.
No.
And if I need to know something, I ask Elise.
Now, how many years have we known each other, Carl?
It's been 9 on. I think it's been 9 years now.
9 years.
It's been over. Yeah, something like that. It's coming up on this year. It will be 9 years. Yeah.
And I think
we have a lot of colleagues. Some people we're not in touch with as much as I'd like to be. Just have. Suddenly I realize I haven't spoken to people in years. But I've definitely kept in touch with. We don't get to see each other nearly enough.
Not nearly enough. But when we get together, when we get together, crazy things usually happen. That's for sure.
You remember when you came to see me at Slater Mill? Well, you can't do that anymore because there's no more Slater Mill. Not as it was anyway. It
really?
Torn it down?
No, they haven't torn it down. No, but it's in the process of being acquired by the National Parks Service.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah. Blackstone Valley Historic District is in league with the National Park Service. Well, they're associated with them now. And this has been a big that's been a work we talked about for years. But what it really means is I'm out of a job with Slater Mill, which was my home away from home. I used to linger there so long, and now it's
right.
As of Friday the 13th, March 13th, that was my last shift there, but I didn't know it at the time. Because all of a sudden this acquisition, this transfer was accelerated. So now it's a government institution now, which means unless they have me back for something special, we're hoping that they will.
Oh, and I'm sure they will because, hey, you're Carl Johnson. Hello. Yeah, they would.
I don't know how much that's going to impress them. I don't have a ring to that.
You were about to share a fond memory of ours about how you took me to Slater Mill and you wanted to show me around, but something happened.
I thought we were going to talk about the last couple of times we went to dinner. That was kind of fun. We should do it again. All right, Slater Mill, yeah. You came to see me. I think it was your introduction to Slater Mill.
Yeah.
I remember you had the cane that night, so you looked rather dramatic.
My
you looked like
cane.
A Byronic hero. Well, we were talking around, walking around, and you all of a sudden, out of the blue, you just say, it was dusk, and you said, why am I seeing a body? There's something about a body. Now, that had nothing to do with what we were walking over the causeway, the mill race.
Right.
The bridge over the raceway, where they used to induct the water in from the Blackstone River, and that had nothing to do with bodies, as far as you knew. but you said, why am I getting a body here? Body. And I said, well, say more. I said, I just see a body here. There's something about. I said, well, it's funny because the Blackstone River was flooded in August 1955. That was a great flood. It was, Hurricane Diane flooded the Blackstone River, and the Precious Blood Cemetery in Woonsocket was flooded so severely that the western earthen embankment was washed away, exposing bodies. 55 coffins slid down the earthen embankment and went into the river. This is true. This was August 1955, and these coffins were floating down the river, resting on coming to rest on people's lawns and all that. One of those coffins flooded the raceway and was actually right where we were walking at the time. So there was a floating coffin right there. So
yeah,
so that
I remember. I remember that. I remember because I remember thinking to myself, I don't normally get revelation for buildings and sites, but that time I did, and I thought that was bizarre. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you did something else too over at Slater Mill.
What was that?
You were saying stairwell.
The stairwell. That's right.
Why am I getting stairwell? I said, well, there's two main stairwells. He said, no, I'm getting stairwell. And without missing a beat, I went over and I opened up the trap door and showed you where the stairwell was you were talking about. Because nobody knew there's a stairwell going down there. So
as I recall, there were no lights, just the lights from outside. And I led you to the spot, and there was a big cotton bin. And you're like, you want stairs? I'll show you stairs. And you push the bin aside, and there was the trap door with the stairs.
That's how I put it. I said, you want, I was doing kind of a Jerry Seinfeld. I said, you want stairs? You want stairs? I'll show you stairs. I pushed the cowboy out of the way.
That just blew my mind. Blew my mind.
Before you continue, I'm going to welcome our first caller, a very old friend of mine and a dear friend of mine. He's otherwise known as Swoop from Swoop's World, and he's going to join us. He wanted to get into the conversation, and so welcome, Keith. So nice to have you.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Sorry I'm coming in a little late.
Keith,
yeah, that's okay.
What's that?
Did I hear you correctly? Your name is Keith.
We'll have to start all over again.
Well, very nice to meet you.
Thank you. Likewise.
So we all can ask questions, and then we can have a really good conversation. That'll be great. I want to ask you, Carl, and/or James, and/or Ed, and/or Swoop. I keep calling you Swoop, but it's Keith now. And why is Slater Mill haunted? It's still Swoop. You're still doing Swoop's World.
Why is it haunted?
Yeah, why is it haunted?
Well, yeah, that's definitely a Carl Johnson answer. Yeah, go right ahead.
Well, there are different factors. We don't know why some old structures don't seem to have any strange paranormal occurrences there, and some of them do, and Slater Mill just happens to. Given the volume of people that worked there and many years it was open, you see Slater Mill in that building, it opened in 1793. And that was different businesses, but a working mill until 1921. So it had plenty of time to absorb memories. Some of them may have been tragic or outstanding. People work in a place long enough, there's bound to be industrial accidents. Also, there was the Blackstone River running right behind Slater Mill campus, and the constant flow of rushing water going over those rocks is a high mineral content in the Blackstone Riverbed. That creates a low-grade electric charge, so you got that factor. There might be other things we haven't thought of. It was one of the stages for King Philip's War back in 1671, before there was any Slater. But that was the burgeoning village of Pawtucket at the time. The industry was just starting there. So, and Blackstone Valley is just a weird place anyway. It's got a zeitgeist to it. It's got a personality because it's been settled for so long. So you got to combine all these factors. Yeah, I'm not too surprised it's haunted. If you went there, you say this building should be haunted. Just looking at it. I had a long, successful, happy. Well, most of it was happy. Tenure at Slater Mill. I was there for 14 years as a
wow.
And we saw you on TV a few times.
Interpreter
From there.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll have me back for something special, like some special program there. If they want to resume the ghost hunts there, they might want to. The trouble is, since it's government subsidized now, they don't need to bring in money. But the new director might say that's a good, viable program. Let's do something with it. So we'll try. I'd like to think I'll be back there.
One question that I want to ask all of you, as paranormal investigators and on the demonology side. What do you guys think of? I have my own thoughts on it, but I'll be silent about that. What do you guys think of the people going into these supposedly demonically infested, locations and provoking? Do you think that should be stopped? Do you think that that's adding to the human soul or human spirit earthboundness or trappedness in these locations?
Well, it's a form of magnetism. You see, different areas have different power and different attraction to them. And there's really no rhyme or reason. You think that, if it's leaning towards the demonic or the insidious, that there had to be some murder there or some tragic history or people died in the fire there. Not always the case, though. Sometimes you don't know why a place is haunted and why it has a darker element to it. There may have been ritual magic performed there, or sometimes the ghosties just show up. There are different parts. See, it's a fluid influence that brings in spirits, especially the evil ones or the malevolent ones. And they just pop up. They find easier access there. I'm not saying that they say, hey, we can get through this portal. It's just that they are drawn to that and can usher in. And when I say they, I'm not necessarily talking about demons. I'm talking about interdimensional beings, consciousnesses that make their way through to our realm. So sometimes, you ever walk into a place and you just think, oh, there's something not right here. I don't know what it is about it. I feel kind of ill. Now, it could be some physical property that manifests that. Like could be radon. There could be power lines overhead that are, leak, electric leakage, all kinds of things. But sometimes you just don't know why. You don't feel right about a place. Like something happened here. Oh, I just don't feel right about this place. And there is something your senses are reacting for a reason.
Yes.
You sometimes determine the cause, sometimes you cannot. But there are
is that always
ley lines are magnetic fields that transect the Earth's surface, and they have power sources. The world's a big magnet and has fluctuations, so sometimes you walk into a power source and you'll say, wow, something happened here.
So even like if you, would you agree with James if I said, let's just say you had a fight with, a guy from a modeling agency, let's just say, hypothetically, and there's a fight, and let's just say the family's had a fight.
Thank you, man.
I know. I didn't want to say it out loud, but there you go. You know what I mean? On the streets, James, the pretty boy Annito, but I don't want to go into that. Anywho, but now, James, what if you walk into a house? Would you say it's the same thing? Say if you walk into a house and there's been a fight. Someone's had a massive emotional outburst of fight, and you haven't seen it, witnessed it, but you can feel it in the air. Would you say that's similar? Could you say that that's possible spirit activity as well that maybe might have stirred up the energy and you just pick up on it?
Well, I think anything's possible. I don't think when I first go into a house, I don't try to have the perception that it is paranormal. I try to always look at the natural occurrences first because maybe a few years ago I had a different mindset, but through research and continuation of studies and investigating personal situations, I've come to the ability to say that I think a lot of it, 99% of it, is natural and brought upon ourselves. And of course, if they are dealing with something at their house, something that is there, maybe intelligent or residually, or something celestial or interdimensional being, that the fighting might create kind of a ripple effect with the environment and through something that happened. But we also tend to forget where the root word of haunted came from, or haunting. usually the ability of a haunting happens with the individuals within the homestead. Somebody can live at that house and never experience anything, but another family comes in that fights all the time or has different personalities or are more receptive to it, and a haunting can occur. I've seen that.
Sparks it, right?
Sparks it. So, yeah, I think it's a possibility. Maybe the fighting could be something that is manifested from paranormal activity and is causing a ripple, purposely manipulated, especially if it is demonic. But maybe naturally they fight because of a relationship situation, and that maybe could cause a situation to as well.
I see. Well, the reason why I was asking that question was because I had a particular case in the Fall River where the husband and the wife were just at each other's throat, and it was the husband that was more and more aggressive. And during the case, it was just a blowout fight between the husband and the wife. It was more like the husband was being verbally abusive. And we were there because there was supernatural or paranormal experiences. We had seen a shadow person, and all that. So, and I noticed that I was able to discern that, it's like a chicken and the egg thing. The house already had something, and there was a family, a husband and wife, that had unforgiveness or whatever, and it was like the perfect storm. The two, the negative spirit, the negative energy, plus the volatile relationship, and it was just, I couldn't believe it. But when prayer was prayed in the other room, unbeknownst to the couple yelling at each other, as soon as the prayer was said, the prayer of basically causing the spirit to submit, the fight ended in 5 minutes. So I was.
Sounds like they were being manipulated by them. Yeah, it sounds like they were being manipulated. Like Carl said with Slater Mill, sorry to interrupt, with like the water and the possible minerals and rocks that are associated with Slater Mill, maybe incorporating to the fact of
a huge battery.
Being a huge battery, but in the same formula that maybe they were fighting because of the spirit interaction, maybe the manipulation, but that fighting was allowing negativity to be reaped into the air, and we feel like these things are very parasitical to certain things like that. Like if you're negative, feed off of that. So it's probably what we're trying to definitely do. It sounds like that. Sounds like that's something we're trying to turn them against each other and feed off of that.
Fascinating. See, now, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are listening, this is a perfect example of what James and Carl do in the duo Demonology. Just getting to the root of the problem and answering your questions. It's amazing. It's amazing stuff. So, a quick question for you guys. Who came up with the idea of duo Demonology? And
James Annitto.
There we go. Yeah, so please fill us in. This is amazing. So this is a beautiful thing. So how did you guys come up with it? Who did?
Well, the name is interesting. There is a story, actually. It's not just like, hey, sounds cool, let's do that. James has a...
Well, I figured that. That's why I'm asking. Yeah.
Because I'll tell you how it felt. It felt like it was felt 4 centuries ago.
I was going to ask about that.
Nascent but modern demonology, when it started to move away from alchemy and became, I don't know if I'd go as far as to call it scientific, but more of a study, a systematic study.
Right.
That ushered in modern demonology in the late 16th century, going into the cusp of the 17th century. Around that time, demonology, there was different spelling and different court parlance. So in the time of King James, that was spelled, let's see if I can get it right, Daemonologie. Daemonologie.
Daemonology, yeah.
That's the way, but it's, demonology. That's the old-fashioned spelling. The duo, of course, is because of James and myself. Although, what did we come up with recently, as in today? The duo trio. I think Elise came up with that because Elise is all part of it, too.
Yeah, okay. So, Elise, if you don't mind.
It's duo, but it's also tertiary in that sense because we don't function well without Elise.
Yeah, and basically why Duo Daemonology was created is because Carl and I, just like yourself, Father Ed, was a member of Beyond the Veil, and I met Carl about, 9 years ago, 10 years ago?
This year makes 10 years. This 10 years.
10 years ago, I met Carl through an acquaintance that I was a founder of a group of that had left the group that Carl had worked with on an episode of The Haunted called A Demon Attacks, one of the highest rated episodes of that time on that show. And I had met him through that acquaintance, and basically I went to school for technology. In high school, I went to a Votech school for Cisco networking, and then later went to college for computer programming and graphic design, but never finished my degree. So I was always antiquated and very familiar with technology. So basically, Carl and Dina Palazzini at the time was Beyond the Veil Paranormal, which we were also a
right. Dina, I remember her. Yep.
I was asked to be the tech manager, and that is basically how Carl and I started working together. But basically, a few years later, of course, we had stayed out of touch due to certain situations in life. But Carl and I, as of September of 2019, had spoke together at Sam Baltrus's event, Massachusetts Paracon, which was the Berkshires at that time. And we had spoken together for the first time in many, many, many years. So it's something that night, and I'm a person that if it comes to me, if I don't do it, then I failed myself. And it's not like I'm better than anybody, but usually, I feel like if you have something come to you, you should try to achieve that goal. So I said to myself, all right, I think Carl and I did a killer job. I really like to teach demonology more understood. People misunderstand theology and how it can be a scientific. So I really wanted to approach somebody like Carl, who is the talking and walking encyclopedia, who has done this for 47 years, who was my first mentor within demonology in the physical aspect of it. And, so I felt like it would be a great reunion, kind of go back to square one and see if Carl and I can make a change. And, of course, it's just not us. We want to work with other people that are within the field of demonology and spiritual warfare, but we want to try to help carry the torch and try to make it more accessible to people that investigate in the paranormal and don't understand the scientific methods that do exist that you can approach with a paranormal investigation, and of course, while assessing a demonic case.
Yeah. Oh, I just interrupt real quick. Just one thing. I'm sorry. I just wanted to thank James for your service in the military. You were in the Army, correct?
Yeah, I wasn't in very long, much like you were much longer than I, Father Ed, and I respect that. But yes, I did.
But hey, I respect the fact that you went through it. So thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for your service, my friend. Hey, I do my homework when it comes to you.
We all appreciate it, James, very much.
Absolutely. So, I just direct a question to Elise, if I could. Elise, this is your time to shine. So,
hi, Elise.
Behind every successful man, there's a woman, correct? So, Duo Demonology is the head, but you're the neck that turns the head. So we're good to go on. I understand. I got you. So, so this is your baby. This is your vision. So what was your process?
My process. I really didn't have a process. I met both of these guys, and I like the way they think, and I like the idea of taking things that people have been wondering about for ages and ages, bring them into the current situation, and everybody knows. Well, all anybody knows about paranormal is the silly stuff they see on TV, or
right.
Or everything's a demon. There's no in between. So these guys, know the history. They know the investigations. They know how to approach things logically. They like to call me the realist, but they are very much realists in their own right. And they're just basically out there to help people, and they have the knowledge to be able to do that. And I wanted to be a part of it.
And
wow.
to throw in, she's the president of the Johnson Historical Society, which is no small feat as well, to be president of the Historical Society.
There's a lot involved in that, a lot of organization. That's when things don't go right, and when, we need some niche of history or some research. My great-great-uncle lived in this area, and he's buried somewhere in the state, maybe in this town. Can you help me? That's where they go to Elise for that.
And it's good to have a historian like Elise part of the group as well, because if we need to approach the historical aspect, even though Carl is very well versed in crazy crap.
Ghost and history goes hand in hand.
Yeah,
so.
and but Elise is still at what she does, and without her, we probably would double book a lot of things.
Yeah, we were doing that.
They need a mom.
They need a mom. And she's absolutely gorgeous.
That's wonderful.
I can verify that. You met her.
Yes, yeah, and I just wanted to make sure credit was given what credit's due, because you're talking about you got 3 alpha type personalities. You got James Annitto, who not only is part of the duo Demonology, and he also was a founder of Dominion Ministry, which is a basic conglomerate of all kinds of clergy from all kinds of beliefs put together. And that was your baby, James. So I just want to put it out there. I also was a member of that for a season. So that's another thing you and I, James, have in common. So
very much. And thank you for bringing that up. Those were good memories. And I know there was some sort of continuation, but those 2 years of that the Dominion Ministry was a big foothold in people's houses, and that events was all important to me, because, like I said, Elise said it perfectly. We're not all knowers, Carl and I, of course, but and we have a lot to learn, and we work with a lot of people. But the biggest thing is to try to comfort people in their homes, and the Dominion Ministry did that so many times on so many levels. And now, at the end of the day, that is the most important thing to me. I don't make money with what I do on this aspect. I have a career outside of the paranormal that makes my money and pays my bills. So, to me, it's when I go into people's houses, or I get people involved in other people's houses. Especially nowadays, I've matured a lot more than I used to be. But that's the major goal. And the Dominion Ministry did a hell of a job at that for 2 years straight.
That was, and some of your clients became some of my clients, and that was why I was talking about always hearing more and more about you. So that really kind of, built an understanding, and it's still continuing on after me. So it's just a good thing. But the one thing I noticed that all 3 of us, well, the 4 of us and 5 with Chris, is it's all about bringing hope to the people. It's all about bringing hope and understanding. Here's the reason why, and I love the fact that we come at it from different angles. I come at it from the Judeo-Christian perspective, but also from a supernatural, I guess you can say, prophetic, where I'm actually reading the people, reading the case and everything like that. But still, we all have the same goal of educating the client, not harming the client by provoking it and make things worse. That was my biggest thing. I'd watch it on TV. They go in, oh, yeah, you got a ghost story, right? They've stirred the place up like you wouldn't believe, and then they leave. I don't know how many cases I had.
Many times?
Right?
That's
ridiculous.
awful.
And then I would...
How many times?
And no wonder the place is practically, erupted.
Yes.
Because, I had a particular case, and all of you actually know this person, so I won't mention their names, but this guy had started this group, then dissolved, and he started again. And it was a case he had invited me on, and it was a poor woman. She was 80 years old, and there was a poltergeist that was moving the furniture around, trying to terrify the poor old lady. And the gentleman who had a group, and I was using, I guess you can say, listening to my spidey sense, but I'm just getting to feel the vibe of the place and everything, and I'm with this gentleman, and sure enough, he stops and he goes, wait. Before you do anything, before you do a blessing and anything, we've got to stop. I go, what do you mean? Why? He goes, I forgot the film for my camera, and we can't continue. So he was going to stop everything and prolong this woman's suffering so that he could put film in his camera. But I had been warned by another woman, a dear friend of mine who also was similarly gifted, and she called me on the phone before the case, and she said, make sure you pray for wisdom because something's going to come up. Sure enough. So I told the gentleman who ran the group, I said, listen, how about this? How about if I only do a blessing that removes the evil spirits instead? Oh, okay. All right, we could do that. So the place managed to cleanse, and the family had gotten healed. But that was just, it's just like, really, are there really people out there that are, well, obviously we know the answer, either adrenaline junkies or they're doing it for fame and fortune. And but you guys do demonology, all three of you. You put the client first, and you want to educate them. And that, I just want to say kudos to you. And anybody who's listening, support these people because they are doing the good work and they're doing it right. So, and in fact, well, they're my friends too. But hey, I if I didn't think that, I wouldn't say it. So I just want to really do kudos to you guys. Thank you very much for all that you do.
There you go. I'll give you that $5 on the table after the show.
Hey, I appreciate that. Make sure you put it in the fanny pack. You guys. Anyway, so are there any callers? I'm looking. I don't see. Do you have any questions? All right. I'm going to have to ask this question. You ready? What is and this is for you, Elise, too. What is up with Ouija boards? And I always advise people to stay away. Now, educate me. Am I wrong to assume that it's just better just
ladies first? Ladies first. Let's say a statement on Ouija boards.
Well, I've learned under Carl, so you know that I'm going to say that they're fine.
Carl,
they don't. Ouija boards don't bother me. They don't intimidate me. I see them as not even a tool, a game. Of course, people can get into trouble with them. If they are looking to contact spirits, and sometimes it can be just a goof thing where you try to get answers. But sometimes people are looking for, something they can rely on and actually take advice from. You can't take advice from spirits. You're not going to get any tangible answers. But I don't know. I just don't have any heebie-jeebies about them. I've experimented on them, and they just. I think people could get into trouble if they start asking questions like, am I doing the right thing, or should I make this decision or that? I think they're going to get some, some cogent voice that's going to, advise them. Then that could be problematic. It's just for me, I can't really make a stand against them because they don't bother me. They just, I see them around.
I don't use them. I've never used one. I know how to practically use it and to know the right way of using it per spiritualism.
But is there a right way
situation, like what spiritualists believe? Yeah, I do. I do know the steps. But
yeah.
I necessarily don't believe them.
As do I.
I know that they have been around in some format. The Ouija board is, of course, Kenner Novelty Company, 1860, I believe, is the date. But basically, the Ouija board, or the spirit board, is more famously known as before the Ouija came to terms, was that it was a tool used by spiritualists. Some say ancient Egyptians or Chinese had some other familiar tool device, because you got to remember those cultures were very infatuated with a spiritual movement. It wasn't necessarily called spiritualism back then, but there were some similar ideologies within their belief systems. So they were in tune with them talking to spirit as well. And there's, of course, many stories by philosophers that have shown this, and much literature. But why I don't necessarily use it is because I do believe it is much older in ideology. I also think that you are becoming a process of the tool. And I think that could be dangerous more so than holding an investigator and asking questions from a distance than asking questions and coming into your personal space. Those are my dangers of it. I think anytime you try to communicate with spirit, there is a true danger to it, and I've come to understand that over time. You know, I used to be more willy-nilly with communication, but now I'm more observant, and I think those are the dangers. But to be honest, out of all my cases, the Ouija board, I think, was only a part of the puzzle once, to be honest with you. I think it didn't help that they used it, but it wasn't the reason that the activity was occurring, in my opinion, and with what I was able to assess in the situation. Don't think it was the catalyst to why it occurred, but of course, anytime you deal with something and you attempt communication, if it's a negative situation, you might not like the answer you get back.
No, I like that. You might not like the answer you get back.
Oh, yeah. So I think about. So you're saying that it's really, and for me, the perspective is I believe most paranormal cases, be it Ouija boards or any other tools of the trade like dowsing rods and all that.
Cards and dinner cards and all that.
Oh yeah. I used to do the cards. I used to do.
Yeah.
I used to do all that. So, I'm on board with what you folks are saying, and I know the etiquette of the Ouija board. But I've had so many cases. What's that?
No,
say again, Carl?
You said you like the word etiquette.
Yeah, man, I think that's going to be a chapter in my next book, The Etiquette of the Ouija Board.
You better give me credit for that. I'm telling you, I better have a little byline.
I'm going to have a chapter about you, my friend. Of course I will. In fact, Elise gives a presentation on divination, like educational presentation on different forms of divination, and it's something of its history and origins, and why people, still use it, still believe in it.
And mind you, my perspective, I'm not telling people to do it, to use it, but of course, at the same time, the same token is that if I say don't do it, people are going to do it. It's just how human sociology works and how people's mind works when it comes to telling them something not to do.
Don't pick that apple. Yeah. Stay away from that fruit.
And to be honest,
that's the fruit of knowledge. Stay away from the tree of knowledge.
I use it in the same retrospect.
Oh, let me correct that. Wait, gentlemen. Let me correct that.
Oh, he's just now.
That is not. Yeah. See, you're done.
No,
open the can. See, told you. Okay. Yeah. Nowhere does it say that God is why you have knowledge. The knowledge of good and evil. You may go ahead. No. I just want to correct that. Ain't nobody going to be telling me that God did the tree of knowledge thing. So I'm just had to fix that. All right, go ahead.
Good point. Good point about the knowledge of good and evil. My question is this:
are we going to talk about dualism now? I like dualism.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, we could do this all night, but Chris has got a message, a question.
James is the closet Calvinist. I'm telling you right now. You might want to. There are things we know about James that you may not have known.
There you go, James. You were supposed to be here and be battered by us. See, it was destiny. Get the Calvinism right there in a nutshell.
This is actually what James wrote.
But I wanted to say quickly though, with Ouija board being a tool for some people, I truly believe that intent in things. So like, you can look at it as a carpenter's hammer. You can look at that as banging nails and building a house. But then you have crazy people that take a hammer and hit people with it and kill people with it. So it's the laws of attraction, laws of intent situation. If you have a bad intent to use something, there could be bad repercussions from it or bad situations that occur.
Well said. Yeah, go ahead, Chris. You had your question?
Well, I remember watching this TV show with Bishop James Long in it. I can't remember what show it was. There's so many of them, but he said anything can be a portal. I think it was Portals to Hell. And I like that little girl. She's got guts. She goes anywhere. Yeah. And when you take a Ouija board and you're asking questions, I don't agree with them at all. I saw a lot of weird stuff with those things. So what is the difference between that and taking a tape recorder and asking for an EVP? Clarify that. I don't know. I'm asking the question.
Yeah, well, like what I said is there's a different. Well, for some people there is a difference, but there's a physical aspect difference as well. You're asking the spirit to get into your biometric. What is it called? They call it bioelectric. Your bioelectric aura, and you're asking you're asking the spirit to guide the planchette with you. So there's physical manipulation of an object that you're touching that the spirit is touching. With a recorder, in theory, you're asking from a distance. You don't have to tell the spirit to come up to the recorder and get into your personal space. It might happen because you can't see and it's the unknown, and anytime you deal with the unknown, there's dangers to it. But there's a physical representation of communication within the Ouija board, and there isn't in a recording device. You're not using a physical object to be manipulated, and you're not involved with it. It's kind of the same thing like a seance. You all put your hands together, or table tipping. You put your hands together because you're using your energy in some format to create manifestation, and that's what a spirit board session does. In a recording session, you can, of course, and people do, but I disagree with it. I'll give you my energy, communicate. In a recording session, you can do that, but you don't have to attempt communication or to make a statement and see if there is a rebuttal.
Yeah, and for myself,
it's all recognition.
Yeah, recognition and association. Yeah, I'm supposed to decry the Ouija board and any kind of spirit communication. No, I don't agree with talking to a spirit and expecting to get an answer. And my brother stopped doing that quite a while ago. Like, are you here? What do you want from a... you're not going to get much intelligence out of that anyway. And what you do get, if you get any results, you can't rely on them. But I have experimented with the Ouija board, and it didn't bother me. And it just, I see it as a parlor game, and some people can become obsessed with it. But I just experimented to see if it would give any intelligible answers or if there seemed to be any kind of communication. So I may have to I may have to get 2 demerits on my demonology for that.
The hall monitor demonologist is coming for you. You're going to lose 2 stars, Carl.
You're going to break me down.
Hey, but see, that's why you have a reverend. See, that's why you have a reverend on board, because I can expunge that. See, you're good.
Oh, there we go. See, look at that. We got the lay person, the deacon, and the father. We got it settled here.
We have got it.
We could be the 3 Stooges, but we're not.
The perfect storm of paranormal right here.
The perfect. We are the perfect.
Then we come in crashing through the door.
Oh, which is hilarious because Carl knows this. We were over Dina Palazzini's house, and we were trying to come up with a new picture for Beyond the Veil. Remember that? And we were all dressed up, and we had all these pistols and rifles pointed at the lens.
Yeah, I remember that day.
That was a great day. That was a great day. That was fun.
I've seen the pictures.
Didn't you get a little feedback on that? Because you were dressed like a minister. You had the Roman collar, and there you are with this handgun. Yeah, but the expression you had on too, and you had it like on your shoulder and all that. You look like you look like a sniper, and then but you're dressed like the priest. So somebody complained.
I did sniper stuff in the military, so.
I know.
Yeah.
I know this.
You gotta praise the Lord and pass the ammo. That's what they were teasing me all the time about. Okay.
We got some campfire stories. We do.
Yeah, we do. Oh, I want a case, and I would like to have your analysis on it. Okay, that way anybody who's watching and who's listening, might answer some questions. Okay, so there was a case that I believe you, Carl, had introduced me to it. It was this woman who owned a house on Blackstone Boulevard. Do you remember that case?
I thought it was, yeah, I know, I remember.
You and Dina. And so you guys had everything all set up. And the reason why we were there was the contractors weren't working because they had said an old lady was passing through the house, and they were telling the lady to leave, and she turned around, she had no eyes. So that was part of it. Yeah. So nobody ever. You know what's funny? You know what's sad? Really, See, nobody ever calls me with an angel problem, okay? Hey, Father, Michael, the archangel, just stole my tuna sandwich. No.
We like them. They're okay. They're getting a little bothersome now because we keep throwing these parties and more angels come in. Once we have 3 angels are there, they're going to be more. Father, you can't keep them away.
Father Ed, next time I fall in love with somebody, maybe it's just cheapest in my house trying to shoot arrows at me. Can you save me?
That's sweet, yeah.
There you go. I appreciate that, man. See, I know you're watching out for me, and I appreciate that. Okay.
Something you gotta watch out for all the time.
Okay, so I was like, no problem, I'll come. And so the lady wanted it nice and quiet, hush, hush. So now Dina had already was doing her stuff, and Carl was doing his stuff, and I was like, you guys do this first, because if I do the blessing, that might disrupt stuff. Because, well, frankly, what's the point of releasing a blessing if you don't believe it possesses supernatural power? You know, we get too much of that already. So then it was my turn, and now, unbeknownst to me, but there was a woman who came to this lady's house who was an old friend of the owner, and she wanted to come over for tea. So I didn't know this, and I'm up there, and the blessing, all of a sudden I hear this blood-curdling scream, and it was, I don't want to go. You can't make me. I don't want to go. Do you remember that, Carl?
Yes, I remember.
And
I remember that. It was twice, but different.
And right, yeah. And so, feel free to jump in if I got the details wrong. But so I found out that it was this lady that just stopped by to visit. It wasn't the lady with the black eyes. It was this lady who apparently walked in with a spirit, and the spirit was, I guess, what's the word? Bushwhacked. So it didn't. So it was like yelling and everything. So I prayed over the lady. She passes out, and then she was fine. And I can't remember the owner's or the house's name, but I'll call her Nancy. She was stunned.
Might have been, yes, yeah.
She was stunned because of the fact. And then, go ahead.
No, the one who's doing the housekeeping there. She would come over and do housekeeping.
Yeah, that's the one.
There was a lady there. That's another
yeah.
That was introduced.
That's the lady. Yep. Yeah, she was just coming over to do housekeeping, and next thing I know, she's screaming because she's screaming like a banshee. Twice. We thought we were done, prayed and cast that spirit out of her, and she was fine. She drank some water, and I was, doing the rest of the blessing, and we were all putting our equipment away. I remember that. We're all in one room, and the lady who was doing the house cleaning goes, I'm not feeling good, Father, and I feel kind of cold. And, of course, we all know what that means. And, bam, another spirit manifested. And so I think Carl was standing right next to me, and so he became an involuntary connection to an exorcism on the spot. But
yeah, I remember standing there for that.
Yeah. Well, I went back 2 weeks later because I believe in the follow-up. And before I finish up the story, because I know you'll be interested in what happened to the lady, and I'll tell you. Yeah. So here's the thing. If the woman never changes her ways, okay, what if she just does the same old, and I release the blessing, and she is freed from that spirit? What would happen to her? Would it come back? Is it possible that spirit could come back and she would be worse? What are your thoughts?
Well, every situation is different. You're dealing with individuals. So one situation wouldn't be like another. But if she embraces the Holy Spirit, an object cannot contain, one vessel cannot contain 2 objects at the same time if it's full. Now, if this is filled with the Holy Spirit, any individual is filled with the Holy Spirit, there should be no room for an invasive spirit or an invasive malevolent spirit. You can't. One's not going to push out the other. But if she has a predisposition to welcome in a spirit, she could run into trouble again. Because I think, that's ingrained in their subconscious anyway, that they could be invaded. So they're always going to be susceptible, always vulnerable to that. Having said that, I was dealing with a case of exorcism and, expulsion. And a young person was 14, the subject was 14 years of age at the time. He was freed of it after that. He didn't have repercussions from that. But then again, if this was struck when he was older, it might have taken more root. This was at a formative stage. He was an adolescent, so he was, he just moved on after that. But I was surprised he didn't do more damage because it was horrendous at the time. But apparently it did not follow him after that. By the time he was 15, he was done with that.
Yeah.
It was successful expulsion.
And it's a good take on it. My take on it is, we sometimes use the word intervention, and I'm very big into psychology. I'm not a psychologist, but I've been, through my business classes and, of course, some other classes I've been able to take, of course, through seminary, some human mind classes and psychology-based courses to kind of reflect me on therapy and consultation with people through a religious aspect.
Well, wait. Freudian or Jungian? Are your thought?
Sigmund Freud or Carl Gustav Jung?
Sigmund and Freud.
Yeah, like the collective unconscious and everything.
Well, what I was saying is that intervention is a word that we commonly use, and one thing that people think of intervention is alcohol or drugs, and I really do believe mindset is if you are ready to get off the drug, you are ready to fight and change your life, and you will never go back to that drug. There are people that say that, and then they break down and go back to the drug, even after intervention, after rehab. And I think within the same currents, when we're dealing with something demonic or of the spiritual realm, I think that possibility is always there as well. And if it's not something coming back of preternatural force, it could be something that of a psychokinetic force, something that they manifest because they want it to be there. So I think it's possible. I think with any time that there's something introduced into your life, and for some people,
talking about a tulpa.
They become addicted to it. Oh, a tulpa, thought form, yeah. There's many different. A poltergeist is technically a thought form. People don't realize that. It's called the noisy spirit, but a poltergeist is usually created by a psychokinetic force through a parapsychology-based mindset.
Fascinating. Wow.
Can I interject again?
Once again, you failed to disappoint, James. Well done, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm taking psychology because I want to go on and to help people. And my understanding of Freud is that let's just throw this out here. If somebody has a demon because they've been damaged with, let's just say as an example, sexual abuse, if they can't recover those memories, can a demon or an evil spirit take over the part of a personality where an exorcist might not be able to help fully until the psychological aspect is worked on? You know what I mean? Like, if Freud goes in deep and he looks in what's not uncovered, what's hidden in the personality, because that's what we read about last semester, can a demon hide in the memories? Can a demon hide in that abuse situation?
Oh, definitely. I think many people tend to forget that exorcism, even though spiritual, I do believe that higher power does work through us. My higher power, of course, I interpret it as God, works through us for that to happen. We are a conduit that is used to the greater good. But in that same aspect, exorcism also is psychotherapy. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, used exorcism as a psychotherapy. So yes, definitely, if the trauma is the aider or the embedder of why the demonic force latched onto that person, if they don't come to the forefront and say, this is what happened to me, if they hide these secrets, because sometimes that is what we have to do. We have to dissect the case to figure out why this occurred. And if they withhold information, sometimes with the holding of the information will make it a lot longer of the case than we would like it to do. Would you agree on that, Carl?
Yes, I would. In fact, that was an excellent question you posed. That can it actually embed itself? Can it take advantage and take root inside the substance of the trauma in that person's subconscious? Yeah, there should be rules against that, but apparently rules are defied if there are any. And I've never ever encountered a case or even heard of a case of demonic oppression and even possession that was not rooted in one's psychology, in a repressed conflict, unaddressed conflict. And has a way of emerging through the expression of the demon and the demon oppression. So the two are inextricably intermeshed, the psychological and the preternatural.
you got to remember how possession usually occurs. It's through an oppressive state, a constant barrage of oppression over somebody's free will and willpower. And when that person decides to no longer fight anymore, that is usually when the transient possession tends to occur because, this demonic force was chipping away at all their weaknesses until they finally said, I can't do this anymore. And then there was the command for the demonic force to over-command that person's free will, in my opinion.
So now, boy, this gives birth to so many awesome questions. Okay, so here's the second half of the story. So Now this woman had been delivered, and again, the look on Carl's face when the another spirit manifested right there.
You remember that? Yeah.
We're finished. Yeah. Well, she was once again. Yeah, it was something. And oh man, just some horrible things. So now I went back 2 weeks later, and I sat down with the client because I wanted to get the story. Okay, so what happened? How did things go? Did you have any more problems? No manifestations. The house is clean. Thank you so much. Yada yada. And then the owner of the house said, the maid. I hope you don't mind, but the maid wanted to come and talk to you. I said, no problem here. So now the maid's there, and we're all sitting having tea, and she tells me this story. And she says that she was from, she said, Father Ed, when you told me I was from San Miguel, that just freaked me out because that was so right. And she was from San Miguel, and her father was involved in some form of occultism and had to be blessed by a priest because he had caught a demon or a negative energy, call it what you will. And so he was oppressed and so needed help. And so now this woman had not practiced any of that stuff. She wasn't particularly devout, so she hadn't practiced it. But I found it interesting to hear her father was involved in some hardcore stuff, and now the demon manifests in the woman. Now, I say demon because, there's not a demon behind any bush, but in this particular case, all the hallmarks were there for a demon, so it was just easy to diagnose that. So for sake of, calling it what it was, anyway, so the demon manifested in this lady, and there were ailments and sicknesses that she had that the doctors couldn't fix, but once the exorcism was performed, she was healed of all that. Now, my question is this. What is it about the blood? Because I see a similarity between demons finding families or spirits finding families and just attaching themselves through the bloodline. And then I also see a similarity with extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional beings picking a particular family and the bloodline. So feel free, anyone, including Elise, just feel free, Chris, help me out.
I'll throw something out there quickly. This is theory, of course. A lot of this, of course, is not empirical. There's no fact to it. This is something that has been debated for as long as civilization. The idea of something that exists beyond us. So I think the one thing that I look at, and I think I've seen this through the communication of people and people that have dealt with these demonic forces or these very malevolent or wicked spirits. Carl likes to characterize them as wicked spirits. But I think sometimes maybe it has to do with the person's sixth sense. And I think that is, I think everybody has abilities to an extent. I think everybody has a sense, unless of course there's a deficiency or either borderline or death or no taste buds. But usually, technically, but through the principalities of biology, we're all supposed to have these senses. So, if we all have the five senses in technicality, why can't we have the six? So I feel like in the cases that I've dealt with, sometimes the person that was dealing with it, the attachment or maybe the oppression, instead of feeling drained, they felt more empowered. So maybe that there is a theory that there is these people that are a little bit stronger within their gifts, and the demonic entity or parasitical entity, whatever you want to call it, latches onto this bloodline of these people because they're more in depth and more stronger with their abilities through bloodline than other people. So maybe they feel that empowering. Maybe there's some sort of, like, not to say superheroes or supervillains, but maybe there's some sort of sixth sense of adaptability for the spirits to work with these individuals more than somebody that doesn't have the sixth sense open. And that's a theory. That's something I've read, something I don't necessarily agree on, but it's a possibility. And, you know, when there's possibilities, you can't crush it and say no. But I don't see why not. I think that the people I've dealt with, that they said they felt the power from it, maybe that's the case.
Very insightful. Very insightful. All right, so what about Chris? What do you think?
Me?
Yeah. What do you think about the possible connection of, well, wicked spirits and the bloodline?
Well, funny you should ask that. My family were into the dark occult, and they did a lot of things with blood. They did a lot of things. I don't mean to be gross, but they did a lot of things with menstrual blood, with blood. You know, they did bloodletting. My understanding is that I think it's Leviticus where it says the life of the flesh is in the blood, and God gave it to us upon an altar to make atonement for your souls. It has to do with the life is in the blood. And when they want to get someone and take away their life, they go for that which is representative of the lifeblood. I've not figured out why it goes on, but it does. I think it goes into our DNA. I think it goes into our genetics because it's literally in our blood. And I think that demons and demonic entities will actually invade our DNA and invade our genetics and make the physical things happen and make the illnesses and the brain issues. Because if you look back in the Bible, the word heart used to be kidney. God would take us by the kidneys. Kidneys mean reins. And then they changed it to give your heart to God. You used to be give your kidneys to God. That's probably not making any sense.
No, keep talking.
In a larger sense it would, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this also now ties into what James was referring to earlier about blood pacts.
Yeah.
You know, the death. That just happens to be something that has been an area of study of mine for 25 years, and I still barely feel like I'm cracking the surface of the power of the significance of blood issues, and I understand the whole menstrual blood use and all of that. You know, for we just went from G to PG there for a minute, but yeah.
Sorry.
So no, not at all. No, because listen, this is the reality of things.
I used to go through my time of the month, and I used to have to hide my products. I used to have to get a bag, and I used to have to hide my products under the bed because they would take. That's horrible to even talk about. And I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be so gross.
No.
There are some people who really have that. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Because of the power that was packed in it, it's the creative energy that of what that is, and that's why they were using that. So life is in the blood, and now you got, like, in a sense, life in that blood, and so they are sacrificing that in order to gain more power. So
exactly.
I know I
the
found everybody like, what?
Yeah,
While you guys talk about this, we're cutting our
it's
hands
the
right
total
now.
counterfeit.
Yeah. You know,
at least have a knife out.
That's funny. Hey, but there is a story about how Elijah versus the see, I know that modern religion has super dumbed down some of the supernatural lessons in Scripture, and that's why the church is powerless. But there's a story about Elijah and how Elijah, this great prophet, is telling the people of God, don't be of two minds, but get reconnected to God and get back into the covenant. And so as a sign of the true God, repetition. You false prophets. Now, here's the thing. I don't believe they were sleight of hand people. I believe that they manifested supernatural power. So, so he was telling the false prophets, make it rain. Make fire fall from the sky and burn up the sacrifice. And what they did near the end was they were cutting themselves and splashing the blood onto the altar. That's exactly what you're talking about, but it's an ancient practice, and they were trying to do occultic stuff to make the demons or the whatever god they were worshiping, Baal and some of the other ones, to do it. And the prophet, being full of the true power of God, was like, "Is your God asleep? Did he?" In fact, in the Hebrew said, "Did your God go and use the bathroom?" So it's hilarious. And then he says a simple prayer, and the fire falls from the sky, and then proves once and for all to be of one mind. But I bring this to the forefront because it is still happening today. It is still happening today of people involved in ritualistic blood magic. It's coming back in full force. They're still doing it, and it's amazing how as much as things have changed, how much still stayed the same. Amazing to me.
Yeah.
So, what would be? Go ahead. Yeah, please. No, go right ahead.
What I was saying, I wanted to add to that is I think that why people still do that to this day is because there is some form of power within humanity where we think we are utmost and all-knowing, and I think some of these people, what's illogical to me is that they think they can control these entities that are eons older than we are, and so. I think there's that mentality that people think they can control these things, and I think that's why people still do it.
And the blood being associated with life, it was thought that blood was actually the medium for the spirit, that the soul was contained in the blood, and when the blood would be let and it would evaporate, then the soul was escaping. So it's always been very much associated with the life force. If you have somebody's blood, then you have their life force. And the letting of blood, of course, drains the life force. So it's that's very ancient.
And I think that's the whole reason that they used to do Holocaust too, not the Jewish Holocaust, but the Holocaust of sacrificing a goat and then burning the goat, because the life force would be gone and you would burn the physical body.
Yeah, well said. Now, is your friend still here, Chris?
No, I think the call dropped. Right around the time we were talking about the periods.
Yeah, I think I don't think people are able to get in. I think I just got a text from someone saying that the number is only for people to listen. So I'm not sure.
I don't understand, but there's got to be a whole plethora of prayers because there's a whole bunch of technical issues that should not be.
Right, exactly. So it's just crazy how our things are, it's just like, all right. So here, all of us know that, as kids, we're told, oh, the monster in the closet's not real, or, the being underneath your bed isn't. But now we know that the things that bump in the night are actually things bumping in the night. So that being said, what was the most supernatural experience all of you have had? So I'll begin, and then we'll just, if you don't mind.
Sure, so we'll go around, Dave.
All right, so apart from my encounter with God, I mean, that was just the most profound, because that wasn't a religious experience, that was a supernatural thing in my past. I would say the most supernatural experience I had was with a case that your brother, Carl, your brother Keith, put me on to. That he's like, listen, I think this is something that you might want to handle. This is after we had a nice long conversation about the Nephilim, which is outstanding. But anyway, so he's like, hey, could you take care of this guy's name was Christopher Bones. He was from Philadelphia. Now, I know that I'm going to be traveling in the not-too-distant future and helping people, but at this point, I didn't have any money, and I certainly didn't have any, time to go to Philadelphia. But this guy was desperate. Again, whole bloodline thing. This man's father was a devout Satan high priest and a satanic witch. Yeah, so he was practicing a lot of dark magic, which is real and powerful and he had suddenly died. So he inherited this box from this man, Chris, inherited this box from his father, and paranormal stuff happened. Parasitical things were happening. Energy was being drained. He even sent me a photo of this creature that was running around his place, and that was enough to make me go, no, thank you. But I was okay. So he goes, I'm so desperate to get rid of this thing, and Keith told me you can help me. So I have a gig in Boston because he was a musician. He said, I will drive to your house if I have to. Now, funny, some of my clergy friends, when I asked them if I could borrow their church, they all had an excuse for me not to use the church. So I had to actually consecrate and bless my apartment. And so we had the guy in the house. And yeah, and so there was some supernatural things that were attempting to happen. But I had learned in my training that when you're blessing, you set the boundaries of no manifestation. You bind them up before they even, restart the thing. So I'm having a conversation, and this being is speaking to me. And the reason why I say this is like one of the most supernatural ones is because it pretended to have left. And my wife, Diane, was with me, and she has an amazing gift to see into the spirit realm, like you would see, the computer in front of your face, that kind of the reality of it. So it's amazing. And so she was there to help me out. And it was like it had pretended that it left. So I had prayed and I looked and I saw it. And the best representation of that was this movie just recently where Tom Cruise was in it. It was The Mummy, I think it was, where he gets possessed. And there was another pupil that comes in, so now his eyes have two pupils. Well, anyway, it was like that. And I looked, and I could see another set of eyes looking right back at me. It was the most adversarial, it was pretty scary. But this being ancient just looked right at me, and I had said, I see you. And it said, and I see you. Just like that. Total different voice.
Oh.
And it did not come from his mouth. It came from his throat. Anywho, so
and it hated you. You could feel the hatred, right?
Yes, I could feel it. Now,
yeah,
I'm going to ruin the mood here, but I sometimes I do quirky things, and all of you know this. So, I'm a big fan of the Lord of the Rings, and I saw this movie, The Two Towers, and Gandalf had done an exorcism and set this guy free, and he said, "Breathe the free air again, my friend." Of course. Mean it, but I would love to have a moment where I could just tell somebody up there being free, breathe the free air again. I mean, who wouldn't? So, anyway, now my wife is stoic during the whole thing, during this battle with an ancient being and just the things that were going on, right? And she's all stoic, all calm. And after everything's said and done, it was like somebody turned on the light inside. It was all daylight. I know you guys experienced that, where just everything just became brighter, and because the angels had showed up, and Chris is crying, I'm crying, his girlfriend's crying, Diane's crying, and I give him a hug and I said, "Breathe the free air again, my friend," and I meant it. And he said, "Thank you." And he's hugging me, and I look over, and my wife has the look of horror on her face. Oh no, forget that. I was battling an ancient being for like an hour and a half. No. But I quote the Lord of the Rings at an exorcism, and that's terrifying. It was so funny.
That's cute. That's funny. I love that.
She's awesome. She really is. But yeah. So, and that was all bloodline. So there must be something in the blood, and I know they try to pervert the blood and they try to make a light of it, because when God used his blood, he broke the power of the devil. So I can understand why they would want to pervert that. But so thank you for addressing that question. So it looks like we have about 36 minutes left. So if it's all right with you, Chris, I was thinking, is there anything that you guys want to promote, or any comments or anything that you would like to get out there to the audience? any pet peeves that you want to say, we'll give you a say. So go right ahead.
I'm having a wonderful evening.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is wonderful. Absolutely. It's just great to be around such great heroes, actually. That's what you guys are. You're heroes.
I would like to ask both Carl and James if they would please come on again, because I don't know why no one can call. I don't know why we have the technical issues, but I'm going to be calling Blog Talk Radio tomorrow and saying, let's get to fix this. This is not right. And I hope that they would both come on again so we can talk more.
Yeah, we would.
And also, this will be on Wednesday, next Wednesday on ParaXRadioNetwork.com, a rerun of this.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so there you go, boys. We're in the bigs now.
They really are.
You just let us know when you like to have us back, and we'll definitely make it happen.
Excellent,
yeah,
excellent. And listen, if you guys ever need a prophetic exorcist, give me a buzz, because I would love to go on some of your adventures. Just letting you know. Just putting that out there. I'm not going to be subtle. I'm just going to be like, please take me, please. Let me sit at the big table for once.
You're going to wear the fanny pack, the special fanny pack?
I will, with a little tiny cross on it.
Okay, cool.
I'll have a little tiny cross, and I'll have my little kit in there, good to go. And then when I need to, exercise somebody, I'll just flip the fanny pack around, and bam, go right to work.
Yeah, flip that fanny pack around.
I will make you look heroic.
Right,
can I ask a question about a case that I had?
And you can put the soul over somebody while you're praying over them.
There you go. That'll work. Yeah, go ahead. Tell us, Chris.
Well, it's the case. I don't talk to the person anymore. I believe I forwarded her to you, Reverend Ed. I don't even remember. This was about a year ago now. But something that happened to me in my own discernment that I always wanted to ask somebody about, because I didn't really understand it and I didn't embrace it at all. It was just something that happened. So this lady called me and she said she had trouble, and her family had trouble. And I said, okay, well, I can't do an exorcism, I can't do deliverance, and I'm not going to try, but I will see what I get in terms of discernment. So I prayed and I did a couple of fastings, and then I had a dream. And in the dream, I saw her basement, and in the basement, I described it to her perfectly, so I don't know if it was a dream or if it was just prophetic. But in the dream, I went down into the basement, and I saw an orange demon that was crouched on the floor trying to jump and scare me while it was jumping, like jumping to startle me. And then there was a demonic being, demonic, like I sound like whatever that came out like that for. Behind him, or it, that one was orange, and then the one behind it was like a goat type of a figure, which I really didn't like, because those tend to be a little bit higher up on the totem pole. And it had a flag in its left hoof, and the flag was right next to him. It was standing on like a box, but in its mind, it was like it was a throne. Like they had so much, they were so illusioned that they thought that they were a big king or whatever. And it was conveying to me that it had permission to be in that family, to be and harassing that woman. And I never followed through with her because she moved on and she got other help, and that's the only thing that I really cared about. And then she didn't want to talk to me because I guess, I don't know, people just kind of go on, and that's fine. I hope that she's okay. But do you have any idea why that would have been presented to me? And if that's ever presented to me again, how would I read that? Thank you for answering. It's weird.
Yeah, what do you think about that, James?
Uh-oh.
Actually, I do want to know what you're thinking about that, but Elise.
Oh, sorry, we were muted. Say that, please. I must have pressed the mute button.
can you please ask the question again?
Sure. Go ahead, Chris. They were muted, so they didn't
I knew it was wrong, but just summarize the question. I heard most of the story.
Oh, no,
I just want to make sure that I answered.
To sum it up, I was doing discernment for a woman who had a paranormal problem that she felt was demonic. I had a dream after praying and doing my discernment that I went down into her basement and saw a demon that was orange kneeling in front of a bigger demon who was standing on a box with a pole, holding a flag that had a sigil on it. Is it sigal or sigil? I don't know how to pronounce it. With
sigil.
I guess sigil. And it wasn't talking to me, but it was conveying to me that it had permission to be there. Why did I see that, and what could I do if that ever happens again? Hopefully it won't, because it was actually quite disturbing.
Well, I think it was, you said it was a dream, correct?
Yeah, but when I told her about it, she said that I described her basement perfectly, and when they would go down in the basement, they would get startled when they turned the corner. So it kind of coincided with what was happening to them.
Most definitely. I had a similar occurrence. You know, I don't call myself psychic or medium. I know that's a line of work you do, but I had a very similar dream, or I would call it a nightmare, where I was talking to a client, and there was a family involved, and I was just talking to them through email, and of course I had done a phone interview. I had heard their voice, and I knew a little bit of the bylaws of what was going on, what the spirit was doing, the ground aspects of what was occurring at this location. And I'd never seen the family, I'd never seen the house. I knew the address, but I'd never had looked to see what the house looked like, or had never presented through GPS. So I had never seen this family before, because I'd never had to ask them for pictures. There was no reason to, because they never had any physical manifestation on their body or any repercussions on their body. It was more things that they were healing, situations that were occurring. It was religious objects, but they were not being scratched or physically molested in any way. So, you know, I was a little confused on that, so I'd never seen what they looked like. But within a week of that case, you know, there was there were some things that were alarming, of course, children being there, and some of the things that were occurring with the religious objects. But the most surprising thing, and maybe a warning, or maybe an act of discernment, or some sort of ability of warning, or whichever, but I really think it was trying to scare me. But I had a nightmare, like I said, of me going to people's house, to seeing every single member of the family, and seeing what the house looked like. Mind you, I've never seen it before. Right. And guess what? When I got to the house, the family looked the same, the house looked the same. What I did in that nightmare, I killed every single one of those family members in my nightmare. Of course, I didn't do that physically, but I killed every single member of those family members in that house. And when I got to that house and I seen all the family members in the house, I was shocked. So I think sometimes we are given these things as warning, maybe as not to go, or to scare us away, or maybe sometimes it is a vision. This could what occur if we did not change the path of dealing with that case. Maybe I could have became overwhelmed and let something control me, and maybe that could have happened. Maybe that was showing them a possible reality if I didn't have my faith in God. So I think maybe that was a warning sign, or possibly a vision of possibly what was occurring. Like you seen the basement to a T. Me, I seen the family enter the house to a T, and physically went there and was shocked to see what I saw.
And both of which would be considered the gift of discernment of spirits, because of the fact that you are seeing behind the curtain of what the scheme of the spirit is. With James,
I think in mine, I think it was a warning from the spirit, to be honest with you.
That's my point. Yeah. Exactly. With James, it was a warning of saying, back off or I'll kill your whole family and I'll use you to do it, kind of thing. And with and right, and then, you know, with you, Chris, I think it was the Holy Spirit showing you, hey, this is what's going on, so when you pray, you can be specific and address that specific spirit. So, yeah.
Okay.
because you already have that gift of discernment of spirits, because you have those visions when you see those spirits around people and stuff like that. So that's, it's similar to what Diane has.
So because they have to show us why they're there, correct?
If they are commanded to do so, yes, but they're not under any obligation to do anything. Yeah.
No, I didn't command anything. I don't command anybody of anything.
That's because you were doing your discernment and you were doing your prayer. So that was what was going on. The strategy was being revealed to you. Oh, here's what the real situation is. You saw what was going on the surface. Here's what's going on behind the scenes. At least that's my thought on it.
So the next time I would pray that the family line would be healed. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Yep, there you go. Exactly, because now you are loosing on earth what has been loosed from heaven. Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah. So wow. Can you believe it? There's basically 24 minutes left to our conversation. I don't know about you folks, but I feel like I've been only having this conversation for about half an hour. So, personally, I'm glad nobody called.
This is a time distortion.
There you go. It's one of those time slips, So, all right. So now, what is coming up for you? We already talked about the work that's coming up for you, James. But what else is coming up for you, my friend? Do you have anything else on the fire? And any guest appearances, modeling opportunities?
A lot of my events are with Carl. We had a lot of events lined up. Of course, a lot canceled. But I believe we have Gettysburg Battlefield Bash, July 24th to the 26th.
Say that again, but slower.
We have July 24th to the 26th, Duo Daemonology, which is Carl and I. We will be at Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. It is a charity. It is a charity event that raises money for the Wounded Warrior Project of Pennsylvania.
Again, that's in October, right?
It's in July 24th.
Oh, July. Okay.
It's this month. Yes.
Yeah. So this month, yeah. I keep forgetting it's July. Oh, God.
I know, right? Yeah.
But no, yeah. So that's one of the biggest events we have coming up. I have some individual things not announced, and of course, some things Duo Daemonology has in the works. So rescheduling for events.
And
what about you, Carl?
A lot of things are being rescheduled too.
Yeah.
As they come back into formation.
Right.
Things have been on hold and been rescheduled because, unfortunately, some of them have been bumped to next year. Well, we'll be reconvening a few things this year. And one thing that Duo will be doing tonight, something about the round table.
Yeah.
That Duo Daemonology has in the works will be a Demonologist roundtable.
Wow.
Actually hear ideas and, say, this is what demonology is to me. This is how I might interpret it and some of my experiences. And we'll go round table and form a great demonologist brain and see what's out there. What differences there are, what similarities we have. Some of the not so well known people that are into demonology, and some of them are better known. And I also have a team. It is called Panorama Paranormal. And it won't take too long to describe the membership. You've heard of Panorama? It's new. Well, I had to say
I like that name.
Yeah, it's a cool name.
Yeah, I like that.
That's another thing. I didn't come up with a name for that. That was Elise's. And the Panorama Paranormal is comprised of Elise Carlson and myself. Elise Giammarco Carlson and Carl Johnson are Panorama. And we are a very eclectic group. We'll explore just about anything that's anomalous and interesting. It can not just confined to some of the super categories like ufology and cryptozoology. It's hard to do things with cryptozoology, which is the exploration of creatures that are not confirmed. They're either out there or they're not. And there aren't too many. Well, there was a Bigfoot presence in Rhode Island for a while.
So
we were trying to explore like many faceted anomalous occurrences, so we don't get too bored with it now. Yeah. So that's our thing, and Elise is the director of Panorama Paranormal, and she's also our realist. I'm the demonologist. She's training as a demonologist, but she is a realist, as you mean. She's very grounded. She doesn't refer to herself outright as a skeptic, because that is kind of a bad connotation of somebody that just debunks everything. Well, she's a good debunker, but she's also open-minded about things. So she's more a realist. She'll look at things empirically as they are, unvarnished.
That is actually... Good.
Oh, is he like to, she just said, is he like to call me no fun? You have to spoil a party again.
It's not a ghost, it's a wind chime.
Yeah, it's a wind chime. That's a house cat. Look, that's kind of so like being that's a house cat. You get closer, you'll see it's not that big. That's Elise. Elise is the one who, we have that yellow caution tape that says, there's caution on it, that yellow tape. Do not enter. She's the one who pushes that up and goes underneath it. Nice. She doesn't cut it or pull it down. She pushes it up and curls underneath it. She gets around.
Elise, you and I are very similar, very kindred in this way, because I always, any case that, well, first of all, by the time a case gets to me, it's already been vetted, you know what I mean? But I still am a skeptic. And so there was a case that was brought to me from Lawrence, Massachusetts. And it turned out to be a genuine case, but there was one part of it that I debunked because, again, I walk in there, I'm a skeptic until I see something or until something shows itself. So here I was, and they're telling me about this one particular spirit that seems to travel from the living room through the kitchen to one of the bedrooms. And it happens on a regular basis. And they're like, so I'm asking, well, how do you know these things? Do you see it? They're like, no, but my cat Jiminy sees it. And I'm like, okay. So I believe that there's a connection with spirits and animals, sure. I'm sorry, with the left. I put an EMF meter next to a dog one time, and it was going nuts. I blessed the dog, put it back in there, and it was fine. So I get it, But here's what happened. So I have a couple cats, so I was suspicious. And as we're talking, all of a sudden, the people's eyes get huge and like, oh, Jimmy's following spirits. So I got down low, and I looked up, and there was a little dust bunny, little speck of dust, floating through the air, and it was following the current from the living room through the kitchen to the bedroom. And so, you know how cats look creepy when they stare at you, they look at your soul, So they're thinking that the cat is looking at a spirit, and I just reached up, grabbed it, and I'm like, okay, well, here's this spirit.
Oh, he can grab spirits right out of there.
Hey, I don't want to tell you I'm a superhero, but I might be pretty close.
Oh,
but anyway,
God.
So I just grabbed it, and I was like, here's your spirit. I hope the rest of the night goes like that. So, but, yep.
Totally me. I'm breaking out the holy water when the cat's staring at a dust bunny. Oh, my Lord. That's funny.
Turn the kitchen to a slip and slide. Whoops, sorry. Yeah. Anyway. But yes, I'm glad that you are a realist because that's important. You can't just go into every case and assume it's a spirit. Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes
how do you know?
I'm sorry, I missed that. What'd you say?
How do you know? What are some of the signs when you meet somebody? I mean, I usually can see them, but they are tricky. They can be very tricky. So what are some of the signs that you look at or look for, if that's an okay question, if you're seeking to see if somebody's possessed or oppressed?
Whenever, for me, now, my process is different. Whenever a case comes to me, I spend some time in prayer and meditation and reflection to prepare myself. And then if I have a sense of connection to the case, if I feel like I got like the green light, then I'll go. So now I've gone through that process. It still doesn't mean I believe there's something going on. It's just that, I just need to go. So I go, but then there are certain things that will happen. If you're talking about somebody having the spirit, well then, their attitude changed immediately. It's almost like the mom would apologize to me for the son's behavior when I show up because the son, this is so rude. Why do we need him here and all this other kind of stuff, and then ends up getting sick stuff like that happens. I mean, there's some classic cases with the cold. Suddenly there's a supernatural cold right in the middle of the room that was like a few moments before very hot, and there's different kind of telltale signs. But there are times when prophetically I'll know things about the family, and that just opens things up. So that's me. So, but I don't. There was only one case where I actually didn't do anything, and it was with Carl. The Pacheco, Mr. Pacheco. Do you remember him?
Oh yes, I do indeed. In fact, we were discussing him just today.
You want to hear the fun story about Pacheco? Ken DeCosta and I were one of the first people ever involved with Mr. Dennis Pacheco about 9 years ago. So I was actually one of the first people to touch his case.
And he contacted everybody on the Eastern Seaboard for help. If you were involved in the paranormal in any way, boom, you got a phone call from Mr. Pacheco. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you would say he was the only one truly that I was skeptical about. But we went anyway, and sure enough, we get to his house, and I mean, I won't go into detail, but we get to his house, and the way he. Right, exactly. He has a little recorder in his hand, and he goes, well, here we are with the famous Carl Johnson, and what's your name again? Oh, and Reverend so-and-so. It was just like that. And it was just like, right away you knew he was looking to be on TV with the famous Carl Johnson. So whether he had a spirit or not, I think
goal
that
was not achieved, though.
What's that?
His goal was not achieved, though. That objective didn't come through.
No.
I remember telling the ladies in the team. Remember, we had the two ladies with us, and
yes,
I had to tell them. Well, I don't know how. What's your demographics? How broadcast is this? I don't want to say too much.
Oh, we're good. Yeah. So I mean, just don't make it ultra graphic, but go on. It's all right.
No, I don't know about that. Well,
the place was filthy. Number one.
All right.
And he had
okay.
And he had a collection of pornographic material. Yeah.
No.
Yep.
We'll go to the pizza parlor afterwards. Don't use the bathroom now. Yeah.
Right. It was awful. So you could tell that there were telltale signs of oppression because everything was unkept, and he had a collection of pornographic material. Anything you can think of, he had it in there. And so whether it attracted the succubus or not, I don't know. But stuff like that does open the door to the dark side. It really does. So you could just say, oh, the guy had a psychological issue and he had a problem with his lust issue. That's, but with his complaints that he had, you kind of have to sift through a little bit. And so I told him, I said, listen, you want to get rid of your problem, you got to get rid of the root. So take that stuff and get rid of it. Then I'll come back and I will bless you. Because if I don't, now this is where answering a question previously, I believe that if I bless somebody and I exercise a spirit out of them, they will leave for a period of time. If that person doesn't change, I firmly believe that spirit will come back, look at the house and realize, oh, it's nice and clean, and haunt the house, meaning the person, and he'll bring others, and the person will end up worse than they were originally. So in essence, I've cursed the guy. I wasn't about to do that. So that's why I've actually had to turn people down that were genuinely oppressed by evil. And I just could, nope. If you have no interest in changing direction. Now, I'm not all about pushing my point of view on people. But if you have a radical problem, then you need to do a radical change. And that means if you were not spiritual, if you were not connected to God, then you need to. Because what greater power is there than God? So that's, coming from a Judeo-Christian perspective. But nonetheless, that's what I'm talking about. And he had no interest in that. He was trying. Sorry, the fireworks in the back. That, and I'm shooting my neighbor because, I don't know, just felt like it. I was possessed. Okay, so nonetheless, that's what happened. And we had to refuse service to the guy. But what happened? Hello?
Yeah.
Anyone? Hello? Oh, okay. I think everybody was stunned by what I said. Did anybody know what happened to Mr. Pacheco? Carl? Hello? Hey, Chris, I think we lost you. Oh, okay.
No, we were hiccuping. You were like stuttering, and Carl was trying to talk. We were having technical difficulties too.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So, I was just asking about Mr. Pacheco. How are things? Do you know anything?
I haven't received any updates. He reaches out from time to time, but I believe his situation is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Yeah, still schizophrenic.
I think it's pretty static.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, how can you? All right. So now, here's a question for the three of you. One final question from me, anyway. How can you tell the difference between someone who is manifesting a demonic personality, a spirit, and someone who is manifesting a personality, who is schizophrenic?
A psychologist.
You're talking about what formerly was referred to as dissociative personality disorder. Right,
well, exactly.
A psychologist. I would get a psychologist involved. Anytime I deal with somebody that is claiming, especially being connected to the Catholic Church, their liabilities, even the United States Catholic Church, I still have to go through a council of bishops. So if somebody's automatically, if they claim possession, they automatically have to get a psychological evaluation. If they deny it, they don't get help, unfortunately. But truly, somebody that claims it, they should get checked out. And even in my opinion, as somebody that believes in psychology and therapy, I believe if they even go through something like that, they should seek out somebody afterwards for counseling on the psychological aspect of it too, because PTSD does happen from dealing with malevolent forces, and I do believe that.
Interesting. Yep. Okay. What about the process is so important. You know, the having a psychologist on board and making sure that the person has had a checkup or even health wise.
If you have somebody that is evincing that split personality, the other personality is going to seem different. Of course, there's going to be a contrast in character mode, but it's going to seem like another person or another mood. Where it's demonic, it's going to be highly erratic. It's not going to act like another person. It's going to be something that's, larger than life. And it's going to demonstrate itself to be inhuman. It's going to be an outrageous personality. It's not just going to be a party leader or something.
And there was going to be some manifestation. Exactly, yep.
Oh, yeah, well, there'll be some, something paranormal, overtly paranormal associated with that. And again, I think it's all stemmed in human psychology. But you have to differentiate between a demonic manifestation and a human personality.
Yeah. And we do tend to forget also to add, not to interrupt Carl, but
too late, you already did. I'm done.
In psychology and within the DSM-5, which is the manual that most therapists and psychologists abide by, and it's of course updated. This is why it's called the DSM-5. This is in the 5th edition. Possession is a disorder. People truly manifest that they are possessed. It seems like, and of course psychologists call this possession. It is a different form of like a personality disorder, but there is something in the DSM-5 that revelates around possession as well. So, but we don't also discredit the fact that if you're dealing with a mental illness, that they might not, they're not necessarily dealing with a demonic possession. If they are dealing with demonic possession and you have a mental illness, it really is key for you to try to not solve both, but help them aid on assisting them on both as well, because they might need medicine. If they're bipolar 1 or 2 and they're dealing with a demonic possession, they really should try to get bipolar 1 or 2 under control because of chemical reactions that happen in the brain. And we were talking about earlier, overcoming these things, willpower is needed. And if you have chemical imbalances going on where you cannot be 100% yourself through a process that is so rigorous and so death-defying and tough, then how are you going to come over that bump? So yeah, you really should deal with the scientific and medical aspect of it as well, and determine that situation as well.
Thank you. That is a very informative answer. I appreciate that. So, Chris, do you have any questions?
No, I was just, everything's breaking up, but I was listening because I took biology of addiction last semester, and we learned about neurotransmitters and how they, they function at, everything that we are is functions from them. I couldn't hear it.
Say again, Carl?
You've got 3 billion plus personalities in your human brain because all these neurotransmitters are to some level autonomous. They're little personalities.
Yeah.
And
so if you give a person,
components like axiom and dendrite, and the components of the brain that actually thought to generate or convey thought, and neurotransmitters conveyance of thought, and they fire onto another blunt of a neurotransmitter. But they can go awry. They can mutiny, so to speak. You got one taken over, and it influences others around it. So then you get something that could be very easily explained as demonic possession.
Because of the neurotransmitters.
Yeah.
Which
very complex.
Which could be brought about.
If you get somebody with PTSD changes the brain function. Children who are grown up in trauma changes the development of the functioning of their brain. So it can account for a lot of things. It really can. It's just absolutely tragic. I never had any idea how bad, like alcoholism and abuse and stuff like that is until I went through.
Everybody thinks trauma does not do anything, but in reality, it actually creates trauma to the brain. Mental trauma creates bruising of the brain. It creates so much different stimulations to degress. And people don't realize that. Everybody thinks of bruises in the physical sense, but the brain bruises in different ways.
Right.
I did a paper on fetal alcohol syndrome. I got an A, thank you. And
congratulations.
I couldn't even do it without crying. What happens to the baby's brain before they're even born when the mother drinks? The neurotransmitters before they're even born.
Yeah, like look at the traditional. Like I hate to say it, but like the traditional terminology of a crack baby. In that sense, people that use the drug and look at what happens to the child. It comes out with the addiction to crack.
Right. Hey, just to interrupt. Hang on. I'm sorry.
No.
Just to interrupt. The word in the Greek for witchcraft is actually the word pharmakeia, where we get the word pharmacy from.
Yeah.
So it does connect.
Thank you.
It really does connect. We basically have 2 minutes left on the thing. So before we get shut down, I just wanted to say, James, thank you so very much for taking time out of your schedule.
Thank you so much.
You being such a wonderful dad and such just a good friend. And I just thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing some of your experience and wisdom with us. Deeply appreciate that. And Carl, what can
thank you for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome, man. It's been my pleasure, and believe me, we'll be tapping that brain again. So, Carl, thanks again. Appreciate everything that you do. You're a good man. And
have us on again. This is a nice conversation.
And you're just one of my heroes, my friend, truly. And I'm just so grateful that I know you, and so grateful that we're friends. And thanks again for hopping on.
Because you're one of mine.
and Elise, my gosh, I see something happening here. So I'm so glad that I'm getting more and more a chance to talk to you and get to know you. So if there's any way that I may be of service, and this is now being serious, anything I can do for you guys, just let me know. Give me a call, and I will come running. All right?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you guys so much. Such a blessing. Such a blessing.
Buenos noches.
Reverend Ed.
Yes.
Would you like to say a blessing?
Yeah, let me. If you folks don't mind, I would like to bless all of you. That's possible. Would that be okay?
I think they hang up.
Okay. Father, I thank you so much for the show. Lord, thank you for such great education and revelational truth that was given. So I pray, Father, right now that this goes out and blesses the people who hear it. Let them be educated and grow and understand what they don't understand. Thank you for being with them. Thank you for loving it. Thank you for the success of the show. And I thank you so much for Chris for having me on as well. What a great woman. What a great woman of God. In Jesus' name, amen. Chris, thank you so much for having me on the show. An honor.
Amen.
Truly. I appreciate it.
We'll see you next show.
Yeah, absolutely. Until next time, God bless.